Sunday, November 7th, 21. Shalom, Israel. Shalom. How y'all doing? As you can tell, I got my voice back. I apologize. My bronchitis has had me struggling for the last couple of weeks. But seems like I'm getting it under control. So we're going to jump in with a little last minute video for the week. Start this week off right. I'm not going to do any intro music, any of that. We're going to jump straight on into this topic. So please bear with me. And this is a topic that is one of those that have been rattling around in my head. And I hear these things spoken in the midst of conversation all the time. Concerning relationships, concerning marriage. And when you're talking about longevity in a marriage, you always get the pushback. But are they happy? But is it a happy marriage? But. You always get that but. Right? And the truth of the matter is that, and again, I speak of indoctrination all the time. And this indoctrination in today's world of happiness, perfection, flawlessness, and all of these concepts that have been sold to us are lies. They're myths. Marriage has nothing to do with you being happy. Your relationship has nothing to do with happiness. I'm going to repeat it. Marriage and relationships do not lead to happiness. Hope y'all with me. Hope y'all listening to your boy. It is your boy, well, my man is. It is your boy, V. Ben Israel, and I am the people's champ. And a lot of times you guys are chasing something or looking for a result to come from something that's never going to happen. And then you get disappointed when this relationship with this marriage doesn't make you happy. It's not supposed to. That's why in the Black community today, that marriages are getting, people getting divorced at a very quick time, 5 years or less, because they spent 5 years wanting to be happy, looking for perfection. That is not what marriage is about. That's why it's not in the vows. Go look at the wedding vows. It says nothing about being happy. Go look at the fine print on a marriage license. Nothing about being happy. Happiness is not promised to you. It's not implied. You were sold that bullshit by your oppressors. Because prior to 1970, we believed in things like duty, honor, respect, community, culture, family. Those things were the precedent. And those things were what was important in a relationship. The purpose of a marriage is to build family, to build community, not to build happiness and have fucking fun, ladies. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear me. And this is why your marriages and your relationships are failing, because you're looking for a relationship to make you happy. That's who said that? Who promised you that? Cosmopolitan magazine, Life magazine, and all them other women's magazines that they started producing and shoving down your throats in the 70s. But as I said, I've run into this quite often, and I've never really addressed it in this forum. I mean, I've addressed it individually or spoke on it into individuals, but I never really spoke on it in on my lives. But I've been thinking about it for a while. But this was the paradigm shift that was that happened to us um, in the 70s, starting in the 70s. That's when it happened. Um, where things started to change and these concepts and this this new way of thinking, feminism, womanism, Americanism, whatever you want to call the ism, was introduced and really shoved down our throats into our culture. Um, and this is where the confusion comes in because you're looking. I'm gonna get in this relationship with this woman, and she's gonna somehow make me happy where there was no happiness before. Fellas, you were dysfunctional prior to the woman. Now you get with this woman and you're looking for her to smother you like mommy did and cuddle you and coddle you and allow you to be happy some kind of way. This makes sense to some of y'all. No other group of people on the planet think like this. Every other group of people understands that you get out what you put in. You have to be happy and find happiness or seeking happiness before you get in a relationship, before you get married. It's two separate things. One has nothing to do with the other. Marriage and relationships are about work, it's about duty, about honor, about respect, about building a community. And therefore, once you build a community, then you can build cities. And once you build cities, you can build nations. That's what it's about. So we're gonna give y'all a little bit of Bible study on this topic, okay? Um, and you ain't gonna get this in church. You ain't gonna Pastor Porkchop ain't gonna tell you how to be happy. What Pastor Porkchop is gonna tell you is that, oh, if you tithe your 10% of your paycheck every week, and then you're gonna be happy. You're gonna get some money and you're gonna get your blessings. That's blasphemy, and nowhere in the Bible does it say that such thing. But that's a bill of goods. We they began selling us during slavery. See, a lot of us don't understand the history of this country. And in the late 1700s, you had a thing called the Great Awakening. And this is when the white churches, their populations were low. And what they realized is them Negroes, them nigger slaves, are good for something other than slavery. We can build up our congressional numbers if we start giving them some religion. That's the great quote unquote awakening. Happened twice. One in the early 1700s, and then it happened again in the late 1700s going into the 1800s. Okay. Now, they wouldn't let us read for ourselves. That's not what they would do. They appointed somebody, a safe Negro, who typically was articulate and typically had some kind of respect amongst the populations of slaves. They gave him certain scriptures and certain privileges to address the other slaves. That's where your pastors and your ministers come from. Guess what? There's nothing new under the sun because Roman culture has always done that. We didn't call them pastors and ministers during Christ's time. We called them Pharisees and scribes. They were appointed by the Romans to keep the others, Negroes, in place. This is what they've always done. Okay? So let's get into some scriptures, y'all. Proverbs 3:13. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. I'll repeat. Proverbs 3:13. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. So, how do you become happy, people? By finding wisdom and getting understanding. It has nothing to do with a relationship. It is not your girl or your wife's job to make you happy. That's your responsibility, brother. It's not her job. Sister, it ain't your job for some man to make you happy. It's your responsibility to find wisdom and understanding. Because that's where the Lord tells us happy is going to come from. Relationships and marriage are about something else. You got to do something. You got to put in something. And we used to understand that as a people. That's why we were able to get together and stay together for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years or more. Because we understood that I'm getting involved with this woman. I got to do stuff for her. Not I expect her to do something for me. I'm expected to do something. But we got this all flipped upside down. And it's nothing better than giving. Fellas, There's nothing better than giving to your woman. There's nothing better than that. To see the smile on her face, to see her being comfortable. That's your job. That's part of your job. I'm not going to say the only. That's part of your job. Loving your woman as you love yourself. Thus saith the Lord, right? Hello. Pastor Paul Chop told you that. Now, precept, because to get understanding, precept must be upon precept. Must. It's no accident. Must be, not optional. Must be. So I'm going to give y'all some precepts to what I just read. All right? Proverbs 12 and 15. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearken unto counsel is wise. Right? Let's dig into that a little bit deeper before I start breaking it down. Proverbs 19 and 20. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. Right? Counsel ain't just listening to every fool out on the corner. Everybody ain't giving you good counsel. Right? You got to seek good counsel, people. Because you got to try all spirits. You got to examine people to make sure what they're saying, this is coming from a credible person, not a foolish person. Or just because they're your friend, they're your co-worker, they're your mom, they're your dad, just because they're related to you or connected to you doesn't mean their counsel is automatically wise either. So we got to use some discernment. But did you hear what the scripture says? Instruction. Because the scripture also tells you the opposite. Lean not onto your own understanding. Because we get in our minds, oh, I'm going to teach myself. Well, I got to see for myself. That's never worked. There were those people who walked with Christ or saw Christ walking in person, and they still didn't believe nothing he said. Nothing. So seeing with your own eyes don't matter. Even those who walked with Moses, they watched all the miracles that got performed. They witnessed them firsthand with their own eyes. They walked through the ocean as it was parted. They walked with Moses for 40 years. And they still didn't believe with their own eyes. So that all that nonsense, oh, I got to read for myself, is BS. It's a cop-out. It's an excuse. This is why school across the world works the same way. Because if you could teach yourself, you would just walk up in the classroom, they would hand you a book and walk out. And then later on, somebody would show up and just give you a test. Is that how school works? No. Somebody has to provide you instructions. But we are hard-headed people. We don't like following instructions. We don't like nobody telling us nothing, especially when we're wrong. We hate that shit. That's what the scriptures tell us. My people hate correction, God says. But at the same time, he's telling you, if you're going to be wise and get understanding, you need correction. You need instruction. And guess what? You're going to go looking for it. Wise people go looking for instruction. They look for counsel. They seek it out. Because that leads to your wisdom and to your understanding. And the wisdom and understanding lead to what? Happiness. That leads to you being happy. But if you're not a happy person already, and then you get into a relationship thinking that the relationship is going to make you happy, well, the marriage is what's going to make you happy, you're never going to find it. And that's why in our Black community, 5 years or less. Because those people are looking for immediate gratification. And they ain't getting it. It's just like dope. They start out with cocaine and they move on to crack, they move on to heroin. They're constantly looking to replicate that initial high. And they never find it. It's the same thing. People get into a relationship, they want that feeling or that comfortability that you have initially to last. Because they're not replacing it with anything. They're not replacing it with duty, honor, respect, setting goals, communication. It's just, oh, I want you to make me happy, go. I ain't got to do nothing. I ain't got to put nothing into this relationship. I ain't got to do nothing for that woman. It's her job to just magically make me happy. That's how some of y'all think. Where y'all got these ideas from? Propaganda, because it wasn't just the female magazines. We had the GQs, we had the Playboys, we had the ebony jet models every week in them little magazines, all promising instant gratification. And it's not realistic. All of this shit started in the 70s. And it was nothing but propaganda geared to destroy the Black community. 30 years later, that's what we have, a destroyed community. There is no community. Because nobody thinks they have to do anything. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear me. Here's what we have today, as prophesied, right? 2 Timothy 3:1 through 7. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. Make no mistake, we are in the last days, people. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, trucebreakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, highminded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Woo! Timothy had a lot to say, but he saw into the future and he saw today. Let's break some of this down, okay? Shall we? They're ever learning, these type of men. They're ever learning. They come at you with all of these philosophies. And it started in the 80s. It started before that. It started in the 40s with the Nation of Islam. And in the 80s, we had the poor righteous teachers and all of these other, I ain't going to say it started in the 40s. It's going to start in slavery with all of these Christian denominations that they created for us during the Great Awakening. They're always learning these things. And we saw it early in hip hop where it manifested itself with the Asiatic black man, the poor righteous teachers. You remember? Even in the early 90s, Wu-Tang had a little bit of that in their lyrics. What's today's mathematics, son? Knowledge, God. What the fuck does that mean? Nothing. Sound cute. Don't mean a goddamn thing. Right? 30 years later, after that Wu-Tang album, what the fuck does it mean today? Nothing. Because you're always learning, but you're never able to come to the understanding of knowledge, of truth. You don't know what truth is, what God is saying. Right? That's what Timothy told us. For this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women, laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts. We're seeing this manifest itself again today with the polygamy crap. That's a diverse lust. Booty injections. That's a diverse lust. Right? Trying to masquerade around as the other nations, the Gentiles, the pagans, these strange nations. Those are diverse lusts. Right? This is why our God told us to stay away from those things. Do not follow the ways of your oppressor. Do not follow the ways of the Arab man. Do not follow the ways of the Grecian man specifically. We were told this over and over and again. But because we are a hard-headed people, we kept doing it until this day. And we're punished for it. We're being punished for it. Just as he promised us he would. Not only did he promise that he was going to punish us, he told us exactly what was going to happen. Read. Judah, read. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Read. There you go. There go the promises laid out for you right there and the curses. Those curses are now our history here in America. Didn't happen to anybody else but us. But still today, while women are getting led away with these diverse lusts, these desires for things that are diverse, they're weird, they're strange. And look at our community. So is our community better today than it was 70, 80 years ago? No. And we were dealing with more as a people than we are today. We had Jim Crow segregation. We had the Ku Klux Klan running active in our community, church bombings, drugs being pumped into our community, vocational skills being removed out of our schools. We were dealing with a lot then. And yet, some kind of way, we were better off as a people because we had duty, honor, and respect. And that led to us being happy. We didn't need to chase white folk. We didn't need to do those things. Has 30 years of that made you happy? 50 years of it? Has it made you happy? No. You've actually destroyed your community. What little bit of community we had, it is destroyed today. There is no such thing as the black community. Well, maybe Van lying, huh? They have a form of godliness, Timothy said. Again, that's all of these denominations, these religions that come from all the other nations of people. It's a form of godliness, but it ain't godliness. It's a form. It's a form. Lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. Because what did God say? If you love me, keep my commandments. And those of you who are confused, that's New Testament, right? 1 John 5:3. Christ also said the same thing. If you love me, keep my commandments. God said, for this is the love of God, keep my commandments, and they are not grievous. Same thing, same book. Two different people are saying it. It's always an action. You got to do something. Keep my commandments, means you got to do something. Here are the things I want you to do and not do. Go. So when you niggas out here that's so fake, claiming, oh, you love this woman, but you ain't doing nothing for her. And I ain't just talking about the things that she like. I'm talking about the things that she needs. You're not contributing. So how do you love her? Huh. Y'all don't hear me. So I went backwards for a little bit. Let's go forwards now, right? Because we were talking about the truth. Here's the problem. We don't know what words mean. So I'm going to give y'all this definition again of what the truth is. Psalms 119 and 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Always learning, but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth, the knowledge of the law. Is what he's saying. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all love Pastor Pork Chop. Y'all heard him this morning. Y'all felt warm and fuzzy. Went on to the fellowship hall. Ate them good old pork chops the Sister Baker made. And them collard greens with all that fat back and shit in it. Right? And ooh, Pastor, he preached a good sermon today. You're going to learn more if you've been paying attention. And these little, how long I've been talking? 30 minutes maybe? And then 2 hours in that bullcrap church. What you learn today? What scripture did he read from? What precept did he give you? That's what I thought. That's all I got for y'all tonight. This wasn't meant to be a long video. Happiness comes from what, people? How do you get happy? By seeking wisdom and understanding. Let's apply that to your relationship. You can't understand. If you don't understand the person you're with, you're not going to be happy. You got to get some understanding. Connect the dots, people. Follow along. This ain't hard. This one-on-one stuff. I be wanting to get into 201, but y'all don't be ready, man. Listen, like and share. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. Remember, it is your boy V Ben Israel, and I wish you shalom.